While Republican-led states like Texas are busy erecting all the voting impediments they can think of, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is promising action to protect voting rights on the federal level.
The Republican-led war on democracy has only worsened in the last few weeks. Most notably, the governor of Texas recently signed into law a vile new voter suppression bill that ranks as one of the most draconian and undemocratic in living memory. This is unacceptable. So the Senate must act. I intend to hold a vote in the Senate as early as next week on voting rights legislation. Time is of the essence.
Still with us, Professor Victoria DeFrancesco Soto and Matthew Dowd. Professor, I want to circle back to voting rights in a hot minute, but first, considering Texas leading the nation in voting restrictions and choice restrictions, tell our audience what's going to happen when redistricting comes up. I believe we have about a week until that starts.
Right. So a week from today, the second special legislative session starts, which is dedicated to redrawing the lines. And what we see in Texas is a hard right turn. Some think, okay, it has gone too far to the right, it will snap back. But what we're looking at with the upcoming redistricting under a Republican-led legislature is a lot of the things that we have seen over the last year, over the past couple of years, are going to be institutionalized because Republicans are squarely in the driver's seat of drawing those maps. And Brian, this is the first time in recent history that we're going to be having maps drawn without the protections of Section 5 from the Voting Rights Act. That was repealed. That was struck down by the Supreme Court in 2013. This is also a scenario where we don't have the Supreme Court saying partisan gerrymandering is unconstitutional. They found that constitutional in 2019, and that overlaps with racial and ethnic partisan groups. And then lastly, one thing that concerns me, in addition to all of these other factors, is that we know that our communities of color are concentrated in just a couple of pockets in the state, which leads to the tried and true mechanism of packing folks into districts to suppress their voice. So you start adding all of these pieces together, the lack of the VRA protections, the 2019 Supreme Court case, the packing, the geography of it, and this leads to a very scary scenario where the changes we saw are going to be entrenched for another 10 years.
So, Matthew, over to voting rights. I don't know much, but Senator Schumer going very U.S. Senate and using the word unacceptable to talk about the situation in Texas probably doesn't match the vehemence and energy on the other side in what is a political knife fight. What confidence have you of voting rights relief at the federal level?
Well, I mean, I've grown increasingly frustrated that the Democrats are not using every tool at their disposal, including abandoning of the filibuster, which is a worn out relic of that protected the minority politically of the country. And now it's preventing majority things from happening around the country. At some point, Republicans have abandoned any rules and any shame and anything to do what they want to do. I think the Democrats have to stay ethical and stay legal, but they need to explore the toolkit a little bit more than they've already done. I mean, this is a situation, Texas, the Democrats here did their best they could by preventing this for as long as they could and breaking the quorum and doing all the things, went up to Washington and doing all of that. And Texas is in a wildfire over this voting rights. And all the Texans were doing going up to Washington was saying, we don't need you to solve all the problems. Just give us a bucket of water. Just give us a bucket of water. Just give us a bucket of water. And if you give us the bucket of water, we'll fight it out here. And I hope, because the majority of the country wants this, I hope it happens in this case. I hope if anybody's concerned about any issue that matters, guns, healthcare, infrastructure, and all that, all of those don't matter if voting rights are taken away. And that's what this is fundamentally about. I hope the Senate and I hope Chuck Schumer can get this through. But at this point, we're in September. We've now spent almost 9 months after January 6th to get here, and still nothing's been done on voting rights. I'm still hopeful, but I'm incredibly frustrated by the pace upon which this has been done.